Hey friends, it's Robin. Welcome back to my channel. Today I am doing another recent reads. The day that I'm filming this, I have two recent reads that are already sitting on my computer that need to be edited. So hopefully you're not sick of recent reads at this point. I'm sorry so many of them are coming out back to back, but I got pretty sick in July, right around the time of Summerween, unfortunately, which is why that second Summerween vlog never ended up happening. But I will be talking about a lot of the books that I was reading during that full week of Summerween. So you will get to hear me talk about them. I'm trying to get back on track with videos, so hopefully that's the case for August and more things don't go wrong. So let's just get right into it. This is such a good round of recent reads. I have one lowly rated book that we're just gonna get out of the way right away, and then every single book on this list is a 4, 4.5, or 5 star. I had such a good 5 star streak going, and I really wish I could replicate it because it was top tier. So getting right into it, that one lowly rated book was 9 Liars by Maureen Johnson. This is book, what, 5? Yeah, book 5 in her Truly Devious series. I really liked the first 4 books. I did not like this one. I gave it 2.5 stars. I don't think I am going to continue on with the series. Like I said, I enjoyed those first couple of books, and I think I just kind of want to leave it there because I really didn't care for this. The mystery element was super lackluster. Stevie is the absolute worst. Like, I could not stand her main character. I didn't like the love interest. There was just so many things that went wrong for me with this one, and I don't want to think about it. I don't want to go back to it. I don't want to read anymore in this world, even though there's cliffhangers in this. I don't care enough. 2.5 stars. Didn't like that one. Not gonna keep reading it. But everything from here on out is a book that I absolutely loved. So In Sequence by Cole McCade was a book that I read for Summerween. This was the first book in season 2 of the Criminal Intention series. No, book 2 in season 2 of the Criminal Intention series. I can't really talk about this book. We're at like, what, book 15 at this point. It is a romantic suspense serial that is written by an Indigenous queer author, and I did want to mention this because it got brought up over on Instagram because somebody had posted a like question box asking for romance books that covered social commentary and things like that, and I recommended this one. And I do want to mention that this does follow police detectives. However, this entire series is quite anti-police as well as anti-military. The author does come from a family of police officers and really is able to show some of that insight in this series, and how even with the best intentions, the system is broken and flawed and corrupt. And I wanted to mention that because I think a lot of people see that they work for a police force and are immediately like, oh, I don't want to read that. And that's totally fair. But it is not pro-police in any way, in any regard. I read that one, 5 stars. Every book in that series is 5 stars. I'm way too committed and way too emotionally attached to the characters at this point. It's like essentially 90% of my personality at this point. So I also read Dark Corners by Megan Golden for that readathon, and I gave this 4.5 stars. I think this and Night Swim might be 2 of my favorite mysteries like ever, especially via audio. If you are going to read the series, please pick it up on audio because the audio is like a whole experience. There's a full cast of narrators. There are podcast elements with sound effects. When she is interviewing people, you get like the sound effects of a tape recorder. It is just so well done, and I loved it. I have read some of Megan Golden's other thrillers, and I think the Rachel Kroll series is like where she shines. This series is not only a mystery, but it has heavy social commentary elements, and I think the way that she blends those two things is exceptional. I loved The Night Swim, and I was a little nervous going into this one just because I liked that one so much, and I was like, can this live up to that? Like, did I build it up too much in my head? But the series is amazing. This takes place right after the events of Night Swim, but completely unconnected. So you don't need to read the Night Swim if you don't want to. She gets a call from the FBI that is like, hey, we could use your help down in Florida. And so she hops on a plane and she goes down there and she finds herself kind of involved in this very strange disappearance because her name got brought up and she has no idea who these people are. And you're kind of trying to figure out not only who the missing girl is and what happened to her, but how she is connected to this guy who is 48 hours away from being released from prison, and whether or not all of this is attached to this string of serial murders that has happened, as well as how Rachel is involved in any of this. The Night Swim had a lot of commentary on rape culture and misogyny and things like that. This one is really heavily about social media and the toxicity of social media, as well as the criminal justice system. We have a character who is in prison, and I don't want to give anything away, but the way that he got sent to prison was questionable at best, is absolutely amazing, and I loved this one a lot. Like I said, highly recommend, even if you're not like a mystery thriller reader. I think this is a great one just because of all of the themes and the way that it's written. It is so easily bingeable. It's one of those books that you just kind of get lost in. Then I read Charming the Devil by Sarah Blue, which was the sequel to Charming Your Dad, and this was Lilith and Lucifer's romance, and I give this 4 stars. I don't know what it is about this series, like it shouldn't work for me, but I fucking love it. It is so readable. It's so entertaining. I love everything about it. It is one of those romance books that you're reading and you're like, this is not exceptional literature, but I am so entertained. And one of the things with reading is I think sometimes as readers, we can get on our soapboxes and see ourselves as being almost better than people based on what we are reading. I don't read to learn. I don't read, in all honesty, to better myself. I read as escapism. It is a fun hobby for me, and it is a way for me to just kind of escape from my everyday life. And this series it gives me everything I want for that. You are following these 2 characters through a pretty long period of time. Our heroine is a well, I'm gonna say teenager. She's 21 at the beginning of the book, and you're kind of following her as she becomes a demon and meets Lucifer and how they're connected and how they get together all the way through the first book, through Charming Your Dad, and then a little bit past that. And I really, really liked it. There's a slight BDSM element in here. There's the fated mates. There is a lot of just really fun things in here, and I had a good ass time. I also really love something about villain romances where it's like they're not good people, and at no point do they ever even pretend to be good people. They're just like, we're demons and we're evil, and like that's cool. And I enjoyed that aspect a lot. So 4 stars to that one. I am really excited for the 3rd book that is coming out, I think in October or something like that. And then the last book that I read for Summerween was The Only One Left by Riley Sager. I had been like a Riley Sager fangirl. I read his first 5 books all in a row. I was always highly anticipating them. I would try to get arcs of them. And then when Survive the Night came out, I didn't end up reading it, and then so many bad reviews came out that I never ended up reading it. And then I never ended up reading the next one. What was it? Like the house one was something Lake. I never read that one then because I was so nervous. During Summerween, so many people were reading this that I was like, you know what? I have access to the audiobook. We're gonna read it. And I really liked it. I gave it 4 stars. I will say that it felt so similar to the Book of Cold Cases by Simone St. James for a little while. Both books are following this heroine who ends up at this isolated mansion where the woman that lives at that mansion was accused of murdering her entire family, and our heroine is finally getting access to the whole story. And like that is this exact same setup for both books. And so at first I was like, I don't know, because I love the way that Simone St. James incorporates paranormal elements. I was a little nervous, but I liked this one a lot. The crumbling house element was terrifying. I don't know what it was, but our heroine walking through and seeing new cracks in the walls freaked me the fuck out. And this is one of those books where Even if you see one or two of the twists and reveals coming, there are more. And I really liked that because I definitely saw one of them coming. I will say I was gonna give this like a 3.5 star, but there is an epilogue with one final reveal that just worked so well for me that I literally gave this an additional star. He really got me with that one. I finally read Raven Song by TJ Klune. I had this on so many TBRs like earlier this year. With this getting picked up by Tor, they took the audiobooks down to re-release them. And so I held off because I love Kurt Graves' narration for the series. And I was like, I refuse to read this any other way. And so I finally read this one. I gave it 4 stars. I didn't love this one quite as much as Wolf Song. And the main reason was because the romance really took a backseat in this one. This was far more about the plot development and political maneuverings of the wolves and the confrontation than it was about our two main characters and their romance. In fact, they are pretty much never together in this book. And so I missed that element. I felt like the romance in the first one was so epic. And then this one it didn't really have much of a romance. It is technically a second chance romance between these two main characters who meet as kids, kind of end up getting pulled apart, and then they come back together, and there's a lot of beef between them. I liked our main characters. I liked all of the confrontation and stuff that happened and all of the kind of reveals and the way that the plot progressed. I'm really excited to see where it goes in the next 2 books. This one just wasn't quite my favorite. But TJ Klune's writing is immaculate in the series, and I love Kurt Graves' narration. Highly recommend that if you are going to pick up this book, especially with the kind of unique style that the series has. It really lends itself to audio. Next is Antihero by Sarah Kate, which I did give 4.5 stars. I went back and forth on whether or not to give this 5 stars, but it's not quite a 5-star book. This book is not perfect by any means. This book is a little messed up. You have to do a lot of suspension of belief, but I had a good time, and I was not expecting to. I really hate the priest trope. It does not work for me at all. I find it so off-putting. I actually filmed a clip. I don't think it ever got posted. I mentioned that there is literally nothing sexy about Catholicism. And I stand by that. There's not. There's nothing attractive about it. This is kind of our hero pulling away from the church and the toxicity of that and almost the cult-like behavior of that environment. And essentially at the beginning of the book, he learns that his father is a like VIP member of this sex club that he supposedly wanted to shut down. And he is not only a VIP of the sex club, but he's cheating on his wife as well. And our hero has always kind of been like the golden son, where he has worked so hard to get his father's approval, and he's pretty much given up everything in order to like stay on his dad's good side, whereas his 3 younger brothers have all kind of gone against the grain and see his father for the abusive, manipulative piece of trash that he is. He ends up meeting the owner of the club's girlfriend, and the two of them end up having this relationship that starts almost as a way to get revenge on her ex-boyfriend who owns the club, as well as the hero's dad. And they do that by making sex tapes. And of course, they end up falling for each other, and it is messy. It is so fucking messy. And the hero is utter trash for like the first, I don't know, half of the book. Like he cannot get his shit together at all. And the heroine puts up with so much. I can see why people don't like this one. I've seen plenty of people DNF it, and I totally get that. There is something that I just really love about watching people turn away from purity culture. And I think that's what I liked so much about this one. It is really anti-purity culture, and I really like that aspect. Plus, this book was super sexy. Sarah Kate's books are always super steamy. And then the last 3 books are all 5-star books. And I read them right in a row, and it was an amazing time. First was Roleplaying by Kathy Yardley, which I buddy read with Stef from Novelty Corner, and we both read it in a day because this book was so good. I was really excited about this book when I saw the cover. This cover is illustrated by one of like my favorite artists over on Instagram. I think her art is super adorable and it fits this book so well. This is a Gen X romance. So we are following these two main characters who are in their 40s. And right at the beginning of the book, our heroine is dropping her son off at college. And for the first time, she's alone in this big house that she never even really wanted to buy, but her ex-husband really wanted this house, and she works from home as a nonfiction editor, and she ends up joining this online game guild with people who are local to her, and she ends up getting close to this guy, and she thinks that he is like 19 because she learns that he goes to community college. Turns out he is actually in his 40s and he sold like his portion of the business, and so he's semi-retired, and so he's just taking classes at local community college to pass the time. And he thinks that the heroine is like 80 because he learns that she wants to join the guild through his 80-year-old mother. And so the two of them have this massive misconception about who the other one is. Some things happen and they end up meeting in person and they realize they're the same age. The hero is demi and bi, and there are conversations in here that just absolutely did me in. There is this one scene where they are standing in the heroine's kitchen and she is explaining demisexuality to him, and my heart grew 3 sizes. It was so freaking good, and just everything about these two were so wonderful. The hero's family is absolute garbage, like absolute garbage. And one of the things that I liked so much about this is that they are not redeemed. So there are a lot of homophobic and biphobic comments that are made in here. They are not ever forgiven and they are never redeemed. Like it is shut down. And there is one scene where the heroine is literally about to throw down with the hero's family in order to protect him. She's one of my new favorite characters of all time. I love her. She was ready to fight anyone that even attempted to harm him, and it was amazing. I loved it so much. Then I read an arc of Seduction of a Psychopomp by Elsie Winters, which is the third book in the Boundland series. Obviously 5 stars. I've been waiting for this book and it was everything I wanted. We are following Victor, who is a Grimm. Reapers are truly immortal and they are the only immortal beings, and they have the ability to make their mate or partner immortal as well, so that they are never alone. And so right at the beginning of the book, our hero is called to his grandmother's and told that he needs to have a marriage of convenience with this fae woman who is dying. There is some sort of connection between his family and the fae, and he agrees to marry this woman. And so he goes to the fae realm. She is awoken from her like magically induced sleep in order to perform the ceremony. They are expected to like go back and celebrate the wedding, and he steals her from their wedding because she doesn't want to go. And so this has like not only an arranged marriage but like a stolen from the wedding sort of feel to it. And a lot of this is them at this manor right outside of the fae realm, learning to be together and getting to know each other while she is recovering. There's so much caretaking in here. It was absolutely adorable. I know that the idea of chronic illness like being cured in fantasy is definitely not everyone's favorite. However, I will say with this one, her chronic illness is not cured. It is not cured by magic. She just becomes immortal, and therefore her chronic illness is irrelevant. If anyone else were to get the same disease as her, there's no cure for it. It is purely because of this mating ritual that they went through. And so I do think that side of it, or taking like that angle at it, it made it so that it didn't bother me at all. There was no like cure to her illness. It was really that she became his immortal mate so that he was never alone during his immortal life. I loved this so much. We have a virgin hero who has no clue how to speak to this woman at all, and she is trying to seduce him, and it was so good. It was so good. I loved them together, and the way that Victor just worships the utter ground that she walks on was everything. Seriously, this series is criminally underrated. If you have not read this series yet, do yourself a favor, go read it. And then the final book that I read was Platonic Rule book by Saxon James. I give this 5 stars. This is the second book in the Divorced Men's Club, and I don't know what it is about Saxon James's low angst romances, but they work so well for me. I know low angst is not everyone's cup of tea, but she does it so well to where it never feels like the story doesn't progress quick enough, or it never feels like it's not going anywhere. It is just like the perfect stride of these two kind of learning how to be together. There's always some plot in there, and it's done so well. I think writing a low angst romance is a very specific skill set, and she just does it so well every single time. This is a childhood friends to lovers romance. I love friends to lovers. I think it is the superior trope to enemies to lovers. I will die on that hill. But essentially, these two have been best friends for a very long time. And our hero has been married to his high school sweetheart, and they have been separated for a little over a year, but they decided to like stay together until their son went off to college, and then they would separate for real. And essentially, they did that as a way to test their separation without it directly impacting their son's final year in school. And so, right at the beginning of the book, they are dropping him off, and the hero is moving into this like house behind the motel inn sort of thing that they own. And his best friend works at that same motel inn thing, and the best friend is trying to help the hero get back out there. Along the way, they are realizing they have this really intense attraction towards each other that they never really felt before, mainly because they never were looking for it before. This is another one that does have asexuality rep in it. One of our heroes is ace demi as well. And there is there is that scene that I love in books where they go to a club of some kind, and the friend is like, I can't be with you, so go dance and I will, be here waiting for you. And then they see people dancing with them and they're like, absolutely not. And then they go out there. I love that scene is just it's in so many friends to lovers books, and it gets me every time. I love it every single time. That is it for this round of recent reads. This might be one of the longest recent reads I've done because I get so many books that I just wanted to gush about. So if you are still here, thank you so much for watching this video. Let me know if you have read any of these or if you added any of these to your TBR, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye.